It is wonderful to see so many friends. Senator Risa, it is just great to see you. Zach Greenberg from the Pew
Yeah.
Charitable Trust is still hiding without putting his camera on, but it's great to see you and Ian, etc. But for those of you who I don't know, my name's Tom McShane, and I am a board member of the MCV, the Mass Conservation Voters. Um, and I want to thank you all for joining us tonight and welcome you. A year ago today, we were in Michelle's beautiful backyard, Michelle Hahn's beautiful backyard, and where we launched our Mass Parks for All campaign. And we launched the Mass Parks for All campaign to reverse the horrible trend where our state park system in Massachusetts had become the lowest per capita system funding in the country. Our goals were threefold: increase the budget for our state parks. Second, support the Stewardship Council. And third, to unite and embolden our network of friends groups across the state, since we know that's where the strength of our parks advocates comes from at the local park system. We were joined that night by Commissioner Arrigo, our brand new commissioner. It was his very first public event, and we appreciated that so much, Commissioner. And the fact that you're back here a year later, celebrating our first anniversary, means the world to us. We were also joined by David Solomon and Herb Nolan from the Solomon Foundation, who became our partners in this effort. And tonight we're going to hear from our co-chairs of the Mass Parks from All, Karen Charles and Michelle Hans, our newest friends group, which we're very excited about, and the chair, Doug Lawrence from the Callahan State Parks Friends Group, Laura Jasinski from the Charles River Conservation, who now serves on the Stewardship Council, Doug Peasy, our executive director at the MCV, and the commissioner himself. And we've had a great year, thanks to all of you. Not only have we increased the budget again and substantially, but through your financial contributions and your generosity, we were able to meet the challenge that David Solomon gave us and raise the funds for the past year. We've expanded our friends network. We have somebody now working in the central part of the state, and it's been a wonderful year thanks to all of you. So thanks for joining us tonight. But fortunately, they knew how I was with technology. I am not responsible for the 911 system, but but Kim Orr is going to explain how this is all going to work technologically, thank goodness. So Kim, do you want to take it over?
Happily. Thank you, Tom. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. Before we begin, I'd like to share a few housekeeping notes. All attendees are asked to stay muted unless given permission to share a question to ensure a smooth and uninterrupted session. Please use the raise hand feature by clicking the hand icon at the bottom of your screen, and you'll be allowed to unmute at that point. Please note that the webinar is being recorded currently. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So in order to submit your questions at any time, you can feel free to use the chat at the bottom of the screen as well. Thank you. We appreciate your cooperation, and we hope you find this session informative and engaging.
And we're trying to keep it to the hour. We're respectful of your time, so we want to try to keep this to an hour if we can. But for those of you who are not on the board, you don't have to bow the way that Chuck Anastas and I do. But we want to introduce the chairs of our Mass Parks for All, Karen Charles and Michelle Hans. Karen?
Thank you very much, Tom. Welcome, everyone, this evening. It's such a pleasure to see all of your familiar faces. And again, thank you so much for all of your support over the last year. We've done great things that Doug will definitely go over and share with you later this evening. But again, I just wanted to give you a big shout out and just say welcome this evening. And it's such a pleasure to serve as the co-chair of Mass Parks for All. You know, one of the things that I get excited about regarding this organization, there are not many non-for-profits in the country focused on parks, dedicated to parks, and we are one, and we are in that really rare circle, and we are doing great things, but we're only doing great things because of all of you. So thank you very much. Michelle?
Thank you, Karen. And I have the pleasure of serving on this esteemed board, and I came out of it from my experience at the DCR Stewardship Council about 6 years ago. And when Chuck Anastas and Henry Woolsey came up to me and said, we've got this idea of helping you out, being supportive of the Stewardship Council and being supportive of DCR, I thought that I was going to get down on my hands and knees and just praise the Lord that the cavalry had arrived, because those were, you know, though I have a good relationship with the past governor, we had a very hard time trying to fund DCR and trying to keep a commissioner. I went through, within the 4 years that I served, I went through 4 commissioners, and it was really a tough go. So I want to say so many thanks to this board, and I want to say it to Commissioner Arrigo, and thank you for instilling hope and a very positive future, and also to the Healy Driscoll administration for recognizing our pleas early on. So thank you very much. And Tom?
I told you I wasn't technologically capable. And I want to give a shout out to the Healy Driscoll administration as well. Because not only have they enabled us to right the ship with Commissioner Arrigo, and he's promised to stay for a little while, but also they've backed up their promises with their budget numbers. And that has been hugely favorable for all of us. I'd like to introduce Doug Lawrence. As I mentioned, one of our goals was to strengthen and expand the local parks networks. It's the local groups where we have grassroots stewardship that really is critical. It's the friends groups who know what needs to be done to improve the state parks, what's missing, what's falling apart, what's the things that people like to enjoy the most. It's funny because now at my age, I've gone through several iterations of how I enjoy parks, and it's going full circle now that I have grandchildren. So to me, it's the friends groups that are the backbone of our advocacy effort. And I'd like to introduce Doug, our newest chair of a friends group at Callahan State Park. Doug?
Thank you, Tom. It's a great pleasure to be here this evening. We are a new friends group for Callahan State Park. We are an outgrowth of an existing dog-oriented group that has decided that the mission needs to be much broader. We need to be looking at all the users of the park and working on a comprehensive plan, which we're calling a Parks for All plan. So we had just taken a vote to move our group to be a general friends group in January, and a month later I met Doug Pitsey and Arthur Bergeron at a Starbucks here in Framingham, and started learning about Mass Parks for All and what the mission of your group is. And they have been so helpful in the last couple of months. We've been able to organize a launch group for our new Friends organization, which took place at the beginning of this month, within walking distance of the park. So we had an hour of presentation. We had the mayor of Framingham, Commissioner Arrigo joined us. We had 5 of our state legislators in the room, and about 55 other people joined us for that day. So it was really a big success. We talked for about an hour about what we wanted to do to help maintain the park, to deal with issues of invasive plants, trail maintenance, park infrastructure, so many issues that have just frankly been neglected to a degree over the years. And then we ended with a nice walk across a beautiful field around a pond and over to the park. So it made for a really nice event. And we're looking forward to continuing to work with Mass Parks for All as we develop the Parks for All plan. We're going to be involving all of the users of the park. We have some substantial fundraising to do this the right way. And eventually we want to have a plan in place, within 6 to 9 months that will represent grassroots stewardship of a lot of volunteers helping to come and help take care of this park and make it an even more special place than it is in Framingham today. So again, we're really grateful. We found Mass Parks for All at just the right time, and they've helped give us a great launch and get a new friends group going that frankly we would have struggled to do on our own. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug, and welcome to our family. So, for those of you who don't know my past, I grew up as a kid in Brighton, and you wouldn't think the parks would be terribly important. But I have to tell you, growing up in Brighton, it was watching movies at the Hat Shell on Thursday nights. It was doing the community sailing in the Charles and learning for the first time how to get out on the water, or actually fishing. Unfortunately, the fish were orange at the time, but actually fishing off the Artisani Park. And our parks were as special to us in the inner city as any place else. So it's coming home for me to especially introduce Laura Jasinski. Not only is Laura part of the Esplanade Association, but she's a member now of our Stewardship Council, and we're very excited to have her there. Laura, would you like to speak?
Sure. Thanks, Tom. Happy anniversary to Doug and to all the board members of Mass Parks for All. I actually run the Charles River Conservancy, but I'm very happy to work with our partner, the Esplanade Association. I know Allie's listening in, so it takes a village to take care of a river, and so we're happy to be a part of that. But we're maybe on the other side of kind of a bit of a more longer term established friends group. We're celebrating our 25th anniversary next year, but I can say that even with an organization with that longevity and, we're up to about 7 staff now and growing, we still also very much need Mass Parks for All and groups like this to help organize and to make sure that our, both learning from other organizations, especially, and appreciate Doug and Mass Parks for All advocacy and organizing around the budget process. Even organizations like ours, don't have the type of capacity and ability to really do all of that across the state. So that's incredibly useful to organizations that are even established. And so I'm really, and have also had the opportunity to serve on the DCR Special Commission a couple of years ago, which really took a hard look at the agency and was looking at how we could improve it overall. And I'm so excited to see the momentum. So many kudos to Commissioner Arrigo for really taking what was learned from that commission and really starting to make some changes and improvements in DCR that I think we're seeing. And so I'm just thrilled to see both the momentum from the agency side and also from a group like Mass Parks for All that can continue the momentum and the organizing on the partner side and the friends group side. Because while there are so many, commonalities among us as friends groups, each park is also, so special and so unique to its community and to the type of assets that it has, its resources. And so it really takes an organization that understands both the similarities and those differences to help organize all of us. So happy anniversary, and really excited to see the momentum continue.
Thank you, Laura. It is now my pleasure to introduce Doug. For those of you who, if there's anybody here who hasn't met Doug, Doug is the executive director of the Mass Conservation Voters, MCV, which is the parent organization of our Mass Parks for All campaign. Doug does everything almost completely by himself. And so, Doug, I'd like you to tell people a little bit about what's gone on this year with MCV and the Mass Parks for All.
Yeah, great. Kimberly, start the I just want to also, before I start, mention Jen Lord Paluzzi, who is our new Central Region Coordinator, who's really instrumental in helping us do a lot of things, and we look forward to continuing to work with her. So hello, and thank you all for being here. As you know, it's been a year since we started Mass Parks for All as the new charitable corporation of Mass Conservation Voters. Earlier as MCV and now as MPA, we've had the greatest impact, as Tom mentioned, working to empower friends groups to be better advocates for our parks. And the other area where we've been effective is in supporting an adequate annual budget for DCR, so the agency can accomplish its vital mission in keeping us healthy, both physically and mentally, and in mitigating climate change. And if anything proved the importance of our parks for our physical and mental health, it was the pandemic. And if you've been on our website, this shot is our homepage for the website. You'll recognize this shot from Mount Greylock State Reservation. It's also on the back of my business card. I have a genetic predisposition about leaving white space on contact pieces, so I made sure I put this on the back of the card. Next slide, please. This is a shot from our kickoff last year at the home of co-chair Michelle Hans and her husband Bob. Commissioner Arrigo, who had just been hired, was gracious enough to be our keynote speaker, and we thank him for being here with us again today. This other picture of the legislators and myself with Jamie Eldridge and Ruth Balzer and a few other folks is from the celebration of passing the Public Lands Preservation Act, which was instrumental in protecting parkland in terms of the conversion of it. It sets up a process by law. So we honored Jamie Eldridge and Ruth Balzer for leading their respective chambers in passing that bill. Next slide, please. Our mission in 3 points: renew, expand, and connect our state parks. Renew, eliminate DCR's billion-dollar deferred maintenance backlog built by more than a decade of inadequate funding, and we want to do that by the end of the decade. Expand, create new open spaces, especially in environmental justice community where park space is rare or even non-existent. You heard Tom mention how important growing up in Brighton the parks were to him. They may not have been as large as someplace like Nickerson, but when you're living in a city situation, all green space is important. Connect, utilize, or create multiple ways to get between parks without using a car. It could be walking, bicycling, or even paddling. This is one reason why we've joined the Mass Central Rail Trail Coalition in support of finishing this 104-mile rail corridor from Boston to Northampton by the end of the decade. Next slide, please. This is a collage of some media coverage we've gotten over the years. It pretty much explains itself. We've been able to continue getting media coverage, and thanks to Jen's assistance, who, like myself, is a former reporter. Next slide, please. This is DCR's annual operating budget going back to 2008. We decided to focus on parks in 2014. And once we got rolling, the budget increased considerably each year, especially for the current fiscal year. We were also instrumental in getting state government to remove fee-based retained revenue, uncertain in any economy, for DCR's day-to-day expenses. And despite our current uncertain state revenue picture, the Healy-Driscoll administration proposed an $8.6 million increase for general operations and seasonal employees combined. We asked the legislature to support that reasonable request, and so far it looks like that will happen. As the House and the Senate iron out their differences in the conference committee, they'll have some things to talk about. The bottom line is both houses came in at least at the House 2 level that the governor proposed. Next slide, please. More recently, on June 4th, we kicked off our Friends of the Friends campaign. You heard Doug Lawrence talk about that. This is Senate Environment and Natural Resources Committee Vice Chair Jamie Eldridge helping us usher in this effort. Next slide, please. Along with Framingham Mayor Charlie Sositsky, who supports this effort. Next slide, please. To a standing room only crowd of more than 50 people. Next slide, please. Together, we welcome the new friends of Callahan State Park. Next slide, please. Using the existing legislatively funded Be Kind campaign, first kicked off at Middlesex Fells Reservation in the Blue Hills Reservation, and our new Central Region Coordinator, Jen, who you met earlier, will craft a grassroots stewardship Parks for All plan to create harmony between the various user groups who visit Callahan. Moving forward, we would like to bring this kind of as-needed assistance to friends groups in Central Mass and eventually throughout the state. Next slide, please. So in closing, without park champions like you, the Solomon Foundation, and our park allies in the administration and the legislature, we wouldn't be able to do this work. So thank you to all of you, and thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Tom will now introduce Commissioner Arrigo.
It is just a joy to introduce the commissioner. The breadth of his responsibilities are enormous. Not only do we span from places like Mount Greylock, which you just saw in Doug's slide, which is one of the highest peak in Massachusetts, to places like the Callahan State Park, which is our newest addition, but swimming at places like South Cape Beach or Revere Beach or Nantasket Beach, or skiing at any one of the several mountains that DCR controls across the state. My favorite is out in the western part of the state. Or going down to Plymouth or visiting Plymouth Rock. One of the things that was very exciting this year was that we had a competition for the favorite state park, and a shout out to Walden Pond, which got that honor, which was a great fun experience to go through that voting. But to my favorite, which is the Harbor Island State Park. If you haven't been out to the Harbor Islands, it's an experience like none other in our state. And all of that is the responsibility of the commissioner. Before I turn it over to him, and I've told him this, I've told the secretary this, I've told Priscilla Geigas this, I think the best thing that we've done this year is that the department has gotten engaged in social media in one of the most fun and wonderful programs. We're creating a new star out there. And if you haven't gotten on social media and followed the DCR websites and social media pages, it's terrific. It is finally explaining to the people of Massachusetts what the wonderful expanse of experiences they are at their doorstep for free. It's a great, great addition. The commissioner had a tremendous career turning around the city of Revere. The fact that he was willing to jump to the state level and hopefully do the same for our state parks is something we're all enormously grateful for. So thank you, Commissioner, for what you've done in the first year. We're excited to work with you in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth year. And now I turn it over to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Tom, and thank you for that kind introduction. It's funny, I think I said this to you last week when I saw you. Our social media presence has, the engagement around it has improved dramatically, and my own boys, who are 7 and 8, look forward to seeing the DCR guy on Instagram, and and so I'm not even considered the DCR guy in my own household because Ryan is such a star on social media. But it's been fun, and it certainly was some low-hanging fruit for us to be able to tell some of the great stories of what happens in the agency and the really the wide variety of responsibilities that we have, and share the stories of our places, of the people who enjoy our places, and then the people who are preserving them and who do tremendous work on behalf of the agency. So thank you for the plug on social media. That has been very successful, and again, our engagement and the ability for us to engage in fun ways with the public is so important around how we gain support for the state park system. I'm really grateful to be here with you all to celebrate the first anniversary of Mass Parks for All, and As was mentioned prior, last year was one of my first events. I think it was actually my first public event as commissioner, and having the opportunity to meet so many of you and hear your passion kind of in real life, and understand the dedication that you all have. It made me excited for the job that was ahead, and it's inspired the work that I get to do every day with really tremendous people. So just so appreciative of starting my tenure as commissioner with that event. Really bolstered me and gave me the support that I think I needed to be able to lean into this position and really know that there are so many tremendous people who are supportive of our efforts. It is, I think it's funny. It feels like this is a season of celebrating anniversaries. Obviously, the 1 year anniversary of Mass Fox for All. I recently celebrated my first anniversary at DCR, and it has been just such an incredible experience. From lifeguard recruitment on basically my first day was, you guys are short a couple of lifeguards. Make sure you get out and do as many radio and TV spots as you can to make sure people know that they can be hired for really tremendous opportunities. To wildfires, my first 4th of July as commissioner, a record turnout for our first day hikes this year, and Park Serve Day. We had a total eclipse to celebrate and enjoy and welcome people out to. We were able to bring the reverse the curse sign for those Red Sox fans out there. That is or was a DCR relic that was sitting in our garage for 20 years, and we were able to put that on display and celebrate the 2004 World Series champs, and a countless number of ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings. It has been such an incredible year. And over that last year, I've been able to travel throughout the Commonwealth and meet our staff. And I have to say, our staff are so dedicated and so passionate and do such tremendous work on behalf of the Commonwealth and on behalf of the residents and the visitors to our spaces. And I feel so lucky to be able to work with really tremendous people every day, and to be able to see our beautiful properties and meet people like all of you who truly care about preserving our public spaces for everyone. And I have to say, after a year, I continue to be amazed at how much I learn every day. Whether it's about our responsibilities, there have been a couple of head scratching moments where we say, do we really own that? To our, the number of projects that we have and the partners that we have that allow us to do so many of our projects, and learning the staff achievements that happen every day. It's been really an incredible experience to learn every day. And what I've been so struck by is that I've had the opportunity a couple of times to meet with some staff members who have been with the agency for 30 plus years, who they will tell me that they learn something every day. And so it's just that it's an amazing agency. There are incredible people, and that growth mindset really permeates all throughout the agency. And I think there's this is an understatement, but there's always something happening at TCR. And for me to learn both personally and professionally has been just an incredible opportunity. And we have an annual leadership academy, and last month we celebrated the 20th anniversary of our mission statement. And I think that's a true testament to the work that was put in at the outset for this agency to have a mission statement that has transcended and been so critical to the work that we do, and to be able to celebrate that and hear for me, it was hearing the story that led to the creation of that mission statement that was really, just very interesting and something that, centers all of the work that we do. And I really impress upon our team to make sure that they're centered through our mission statement. And so, I think a lot of you have heard me say this before, but the way that I look at the work that we do, it really is centered around four key components, and those are equity, climate change, economic opportunity, and public health. And if we, as an agency, think about our work in those four categories or those four pillars, we have just such an incredible opportunity to make an impact in the quality of life for residents all across the Commonwealth. And so one of our goals has been to ensure that everyone has equal access and feels welcome and feels a sense of belonging in our public spaces, because we know how important the outdoors are to our overall well-being, and that expanding access to our open spaces really does build healthy communities, and we can do that all across the Commonwealth. We rely on our parks to connect to nature, to participate in recreational activities, and most importantly, I think to make memories with our friends and loved ones. The great thing about DCR and a great thing about our state park system is that we have the ability to bring people of all ages, all backgrounds, all demographics together and create those memories. And I have to say that I am so grateful to be part of the Healy Driscoll administration and to be part of an administration that truly believes in and supports DCR as an agency, and the things that we're all doing every day to improve the quality of life for families across the Commonwealth. The support of the administration has really enabled us to provide the resources to make sure that we can meet the needs of those that we serve. And that has been, very top of my list in terms of coming into this opportunity. Was there's going to be support. Make sure you lean into it and tell us what you need, and we'll get it for you. And I can't underscore how important that is in my role. And just on the budget, it was mentioned, we're in really terrific shape as we hopefully go through conference committee and get a final GAA budget. But I just want to tell everyone how grateful I am for your support and your advocacy on our behalf. It means so much to our team. I can't tell you how. I don't think it's quantifiable, but the impact in morale and staff morale to see support from the legislature, support from the administration, support from advocacy groups really does. There's a tangible difference and tangible change in the morale for staff all across the Commonwealth. And I'm certainly proud of the work that we've done over the last year, and we know that there's a lot more work to continue. But your support and your advocacy is absolutely critical to ensuring that we have what we need. We have the resources, and we have a thriving park system that provides value to the Commonwealth and to communities all across the Commonwealth. Another big goal for me and for our team is making sure that we're providing opportunities for families to get outdoors and enjoy fresh air and explore the beautiful properties that we have all across the Commonwealth. We obviously, a couple of people have mentioned it, that the popularity of our parks certainly went through the roof during the pandemic. I can speak for myself personally. When things were very difficult during 2020, and we needed a little bit of time away as a family. We packed up an RV and headed out to Greylock. And it was the first time a kid from Revere who, was lucky to get down to the beach, had the opportunity to enjoy Greylock. And I was still there at the time and was just blown away by all that was there, and just taking that space in was energizing, re-energizing for me, and really a incredible opportunity for me to create memories with my family. And so we all have a role to play in taking care of our beautiful spaces. And as commissioner, we're committed to fostering the next generation of environmental stewards, to continue our legacy of protecting and preserving our green spaces for generations to come. And so I'll say this, another encouraging and energizing piece of my work is the dedicated friends groups that we have an opportunity to work with, and that share in our mission of stewardship all across the state. But I have to say that having a Friends of the Friends groups is so unique and such an invaluable resource for us and for our team, and to help guide and support not only the Friends groups, but also DCR, and make sure that everyone's working in alignment. And I really do think, and I hope folks feel this way as well, is that the stars have truly aligned in terms of the support from the administration, the team that we're building at DCR, the support from the legislature have all kind of lined up, and to have that component of the friends groups and support from advocacy groups be in alignment with that is really just a special moment in time, and we have to capture it and do as much as we can with it. And I was so happy to join Doug Peasy and Doug Lawrence a couple weeks ago, and talk about the launch of the grassroots stewardship effort at Callahan. And we hope that will be a model for the rest of the state, and that we can provide that blueprint for the rest of the state. And we certainly look forward to working with all of you on the development of the Parks for All plans. And I'm so confident that the end result will accommodate various visitor activities and allow us to really improve the well-being of our visitors and of everyone that can take full advantage of our spaces. And so I'll wrap up by again giving everybody a big thank you. It is with so much gratitude that I'm able to share this space with all of you, and to the founding members of Mass Parks for All and the Solomon Foundation. Thank you so much for your role in launching this group. We so appreciate the commitment that you have all made to supporting and ensuring that we can provide access to beautiful spaces for generations to come. And I look forward to our continued partnership, and really looking forward to seeing the amazing things that we can accomplish when we work together. And there's consistency and predictability from the agency and from everyone, and we can really take advantage of the fact that the stars have aligned for our state park system. And I'm just so appreciative of the support and the great work that we're all able to do together. So thank you.
I did applaud, even if you didn't hear it, but thank you, Commissioner. One of the things that I'd be remiss, Henry Woolsey was kind enough to point out that Whitney Hatch is here. And for all of us who are involved in this, Whitney is a trailblazer. We owe you a debt that we'll never be able to pay off. And thank you, Whitney, for all you did to get the Stewardship Council running and for getting a real attention to our parks. So thank you for being here, Whitney. It means the world to us. Uh, the goal that I love the best, Commissioner, that you mentioned, is the idea of making people feel welcome and building that sense of common ownership at our parks, regardless of economic backgrounds or anything else. They're our parks. And so that's the goal that I love the best. COVID was a horrible thing. We're going to look back in years to come and say, oh my God, how did we get through it? But the one silver lining that I walk away from it is that realization in the broader community about how critically important open spaces and parks were to everybody. Whether you were 6 years old or 60 years old, the importance of that open space really is one of the few silver linings of the COVID situation. David Solomon and the Solomon Foundation recognized and built on that, and their generosity and their challenge is what's enabled us to hire Jen and to lobby the State House and to begin reaching out to the local friends groups in a way that we hadn't done before. We still have challenges to face. We still have funding issues. We need to do a much better job of coalescing the advocates that are involved in each of the individual friends groups into a force that the legislature and the governor can't ignore. I remember fondly when one of our own first was elected to the legislature, and when Pam Reeser went into the legislature from the environmental community, it was a hallmark of things to come. And I'm hoping that we can build that kind of support in the legislature in the years to come. We're now going to go into some Q&A. Doug and Kim are fortunately going to moderate this so I don't shut you all off accidentally. And so I turn it over to Doug and Kim for any questions that people might have of the commissioner, of our co-chairs, Karen and Michelle, or anybody else, including Doug, etc. But I turn it over now to Kim and to Doug Peasy. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just say briefly that there aren't any questions in the chat. So it looks like folks, if they want to ask questions, are going to raise their hands, either using the hand raising emoji in the reactions queue in the bottom middle of the screen, or perhaps just by raising their hands.
Okay.
Alyssa Campbell.
Hi, I just wanted to say I was on the board of managers for the predecessor organization, DEM, back in the Romney era. And then I was on the DCR Stewardship Council for quite a while after that. And this is the most hopeful thing I've ever seen for the state parks. I am so glad. Thank you.
Sarah Freeman.
Hi, everyone. I think Craig's hand was actually up before mine if you want to go in order. Oh, Craig says go ahead. Thank you. I have a question about the parkways. I know you've, Commissioner, have only been here a year. Going back a couple decades, there was a big emphasis on Historic Parkways Initiative. There was a Parkways Master Plan that kind of stalled and then was finally released. And just wonder if you have any public, speaking of hope, any hopeful words for those of us who think of the parkways as key connectors for the whole regional system.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll start by saying I'm so appreciative of a few efforts that have gone into the work at DCR, and at one being the amount of work that was done by the commission, the legislatively kind of authorized commission to dig into the operations of the agency. And I know Laura was part of that, and I so appreciate the work that was done around that, because it really gave us and our team a good idea of where to start, and kind of understanding. I put it in. I think of some things still as a mayor, and so I think of those recommendations were, effectively a master plan for the agency, and some of those pieces that are important that will outlive, and should outlive commissioners or priorities that certain commissioners may have, but really having that kind of overarching long-term, long-range kind of thought process. And I think of the master plan around our parkways in the same way. I know there was a lot of work that went into it. I know it kind of was in fits and starts, but that plan was released. And one piece that I'm really looking forward to getting out and making sure that we accomplish is a revised capital budget process, and not only from an internal perspective, but externally. So as we talk about the investments that we're making and from the capital side, that people know and understand that they're informed by the DCR Parkways Master Plan. Just in broad strokes, we get about $150 million in capital funding, and approximately 25 million of that is dedicated towards parkways. But people want to understand, okay, why are you doing what you're doing at this point? What are the priorities? And the more that we can be transparent about that, and in redesigning our capital budget process, and both the ways that we design it internally and what our process looks like internally, but then how we communicate that out and externally communicate what's happening is so important. And for people to know that the work that was done on that DCR Parkways Master Plan is in fact informing our capital budget expenditures going forward. And so we've taken a kind of a 5-year. We have a 5-year forecast for our capital budget, and 25 million towards parkways isn't enough, but it gives us the ability to knock off projects as they've been prioritized in that master plan, in that parkways plan. So we are using that as a basis for the projects that are moving forward. It is not just collecting dust on a shelf, but it is something that we are looking to help inform our capital budget, but also looking to, as we move 5 years through that plan, that we are looking at it again, and if we need to reprioritize and take into account anything that may have changed in the meantime. But certainly want to make sure that folks know that DCR the Parkways Master Plan is such a crucial document for us to be able to make sure that the resources are allocated in a effective manner.
Sarah, thank you for your thoughtful question, and Commissioner, thank you for your answer. Craig?
I just want to, first off, I want to thank 4 of my board members for coming on to this meeting this evening. Ben Bays, Alan Moore, George Eckert, Jessica Milan. Our board is made up of along the 100-mile corridor. And here's a really kind of high altitude question for you, Commissioner, that much of the corridor is either built out or soon to be built out, and the more upscale suburbs that are, the beautiful places along the corridor. The places that are going to be more problems with big, huge capital projects to get the thing done are in places that are more frail and forlorn. And wouldn't the 21st century project, fitting with the remake of DCR to be more of a 21st century organization, I would have to think that DCR would want a big iconic signature project, 100-mile trail within where I am sitting right now in Northampton is the densest network within 150 miles of here. It's the densest network of dead steam railroad corridor in North America. And the vast majority of it is being made into linear parks. And it tells me that 100-mile trail intersecting with 18 other high-profile rail trail projects, this would be iconic. I think DCR should steer towards a way to become the manager of the 100-mile trail. Some of these forlorn, frail places are not easily going to have the capacity to maintain the sections in their communities, like the more well-to-do places. And I would just kind of like put that on the table to be thought about internally.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I think one important aspect from my prior experience is understanding the impact that our agency can make on communities and how we can be supportive, and that not every community has the resources to be able to maintain or operate certain spaces, and that's where our ability to be supportive is so crucial. And I look at that from being on the other side of the table as a municipal official, kind of looking for support and looking for the agency to think about how they can best make an impact in communities. And so, anytime there's an opportunity to do that, I want to take those. And so I appreciate the idea and the flag, and certainly something that we see an opportunity. And I think about those 4 pillars that I talked about. So much of the work and so much of the investments that you're mentioning would align with those 4, and the economic opportunity and economic value of a thriving trail and a trail network is really incredible. And that's been another item that I've learned an awful lot about in the last year, is just the economic value and the economic benefit that our trails and our investments in trails can lead to. And so I love it, and I look forward to figuring out how we can be helpful.
Tom, and then Tom, if you could then, after you get the answer to your question, if you could pass the mic over to Whitney, and Whitney will be the last question of the evening.
Great, thank you. Craig reminds me, Commissioner, that it's a perfect opportunity to take a step back, and from the perspective of both our first year and your first year, to ask you, what was the biggest challenge that you weren't expecting when you took over as commissioner? And what's the greatest accomplishment of the year when you look back and say, wow, that was great?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I've done a little bit of reflecting over the last year, and I would there are a couple of things that have been I wouldn't say necessarily challenges, but things that they were muscles that I needed to flex that I hadn't used in my prior life. And one of the big ones is, when you're a mayor, you're fully responsible for every decision you make, and you can impart that on the staff and the people that you get to work with every day. And I always said I'm going to take all the blame if anything goes wrong. And it's not the case when you have bosses, right? So the ability, and I have the best bosses in the world, and I'm very lucky to work with really just incredibly dedicated and intelligent people. But having been the last one to make a decision in my prior life as mayor, is one. It's a great. I think it's a great tool and a lot of value. It was something that I certainly appreciated, but the flexing the muscles or using the muscles of being able to report things up and make sure that everyone's in alignment and make sure that everyone's understands the direction we're going has been it's been a learning experience for me. And I so appreciate the grace that I've been given in the sport that I've been given to be able to come up with some sometimes some crazy ideas and folks are okay with it and we run with it. And I think in terms of accomplishment, I would say the 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 fact that our communications both internally, and so this was something that we built off of from now Undersecretary Stephanie Cooper, but former Commissioner Cooper. While during her short stint, she had instituted a weekly email to staff, and we've really leaned into that and been able to really highlight for the entire agency a weekly review of all of the things that happen. And as you can imagine, a lot of things do happen every day. And so, but that coupled with the engagement that we've seen on social media has really changed, turned the tide for the internal morale of the staff and just the level of appreciation that our team has felt from staff, knowing that we're communicating, we're consistent with that communication. It's predictable. The staff, everyone understands our mission and buys into it. And the folks at our agency are so passionate and so mission driven that they hearing the compliments from longtime staff, I would say is like for me personally, a really tremendous accomplishment. Just knowing that folks that have seen a lot throughout the years at the agency and just appreciate the external communication that we have and the buy-in that we've gotten and the engagement that we've gotten has been an incredible opportunity, an incredible achievement, I think, in a short bit of time. The other one that I'm really excited about, and I know folks have heard me talk about this a little bit, is we're actually live testing now a 311 system. And so, for me, again, putting my mayor hat on, I really relied on data for us to make our decisions as a city and as a community. And that a lot of that data was driven by our 311 system. And so for us to be able to stand that up and have a live testing version that's currently being worked on is really exciting and something that I'm looking forward to rolling out. And it's gonna move us. It's going to give us significant progress towards being a data-driven organization, and that's something that I'm really excited for. As people, as you think about kind of what impact you can make now that might last a longer time and be around for a while. I think changing the ability for the agency to be data-driven in its decision-making will be crucial to the success for the next generation and generations after that.
Thank you. And Whitney?
Thank you, Tom. And I appreciate you allowing me to operate from my personal witness protection program, but I have a terrible camera on my iPhone. I don't have a question, Commissioner, or other folks. I just wanted to acknowledge what Alyssa said so well. In my experience, Commissioner, I think all of us on this call would agree that DCR has been and will continue to be staffed by absolutely terrific people. And what has not happened is with occasional surprises, having a really strong and really capable commissioner on board, number one, and having total alignment with the administration, which I don't think I ever enjoyed when I was involved in this. And I think that's a testament to you. And it's especially a testament to the hard work that Doug and Michelle and Chuck and the rest of the board of Mass Parks for All have put in. The data-based plans is music to my ears. I think there's nowhere to go but up. And I just want to congratulate you all for hanging in there. And I look forward to hearing the next one of these in 2 years to see what else has happened. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Whitney. And as soon as I heard data-based, I thought of you. So that's wonderful. I would just we're 5 minutes over. As I said, we wanted to be respectful of everybody's time. So thank you. Commissioner, thank you for joining us tonight, as well as all of you. Please consider making a donation to Mass Parks for All so we can continue our work that has yielded such great results in its first year. And we can't wait to look forward to the second. So thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight.